eventually. Okay, so I have sound. Do you?
Good morning.
Yep.
There we go. One more good morning.
Once again, good morning.
I call this to order this May 11th, 2018 public hearing of the City of Prescott Preservation Commission. The members present today are Gary Edelbrock, Russ Buchanan, Michael Mirko, our newest member, Jim McCarver, and I'm Robert Burford. We also have Kat Moody, our preservation specialist, George Worley, planning. Darla Eastman is our recording secretary, thank you. And Councilman Good from the council. This is an open public hearing and is being videotaped and tape recorded by the city. The proceedings are being televised by representatives of the public media, local cable and/or radio stations, and may be rebroadcast. The number of commission members present today is 5. It will require 4 votes for a majority. All parties wishing to be heard on an issue are required to raise their hands and be recognized by the chairman prior to speaking. Speakers will be expected to state their name and address for the record so that we may know who is speaking and be able to contact them at a later date as necessary. Please turn off your cell phones or electronic devices, and if you haven't already done so, most of us have, I believe, please sign the attendance roster before leaving the meeting. Today's agenda has a few items on it, and we will begin as usual with the approval of minutes. We have 2 sets of minutes due to no meeting in February. So we will review the January 12th, 2018 meeting minutes. Has everyone had a chance to review, and any corrections or deletions? Do I hear a motion for approval?
Mr. Chairman, motion to approve.
I'll second that.
Motion made to approve the January 12th meeting minutes. Those in favor, raise their hand and say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Moving along to the minutes of the April 13th meeting, last month's meeting. I will ask those same questions. Do we have any oddities for those minutes or changes? Once again, a motion would be in order here.
Motion to approve, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Second. Motion made and seconded. All those in favor, raise your hand and say aye. Aye. Opposed. On to item number 3, which is HP 18-002, concerns 929 Apache Drive in the city's preservation district, number 10, Pinecrest. This request is for approval of a steel fence in the front yard of the property, and I will have Ms. Moody review that for us.
Good morning.
Hi, Kat.
As stated, this is a request for a steel fence in the front portion of this property. The fence is, and in your packet, you have both this plan view, which is a graphic depiction of what the fence is going to look like, but you may have noticed that in the photos, the fence is actually in place. So this was a case where the work was done without a permit, and it would have required this commission's approval. So we got a call from the neighbor, and they alerted us to this work going on and issued a stop work order. And now the applicant is coming before us, although the applicant is not here today.
I noticed that.
Yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and present this item, and you all are welcome to either act on it or defer it if it's completely up to you. But I'll go ahead and present it and then let you decide how you want to proceed. So this right now, the fence has been temporarily installed. She had planted a garden and the javelina were getting in, so they wanted to place it temporarily inside the wall here. So this is a temporary installation. This is the actual fencing material that they're proposing to install. And in the plan view, you can see, I'm going to turn it. So this is the front walkway, or this is the sidewalk, the front walk up to the front door. So this is plan view, is not a full plan view, it's just a partial, but the fence runs along the front of the property, and then along the side. And it actually, as you can see in this view here, they've returned it back to the house in the rear. So their proposal is to move this fence and actually drill into this wall and place the posts centered in the wall. And so even though it's installed temporarily behind the wall, they're proposing to actually embed these posts into the center of the wall. And this sent me looking to find out what that wall is constructed of. This is a photo. This is actually a photo. They recently removed a large tree from in front of the house here, actually two large trees. So this is from Google Street View a few years back. And so, these are the walls here where the fence is being proposed to be installed. So I went back to a previous property inventory form, and this is a small photo. I'm going to zoom in and hopefully you'll be able to see what I was able to determine, which is that that wall is a native stone wall. It has been covered with a concrete or stucco type material. Even in this photo here, you can see, let me darken that so that I can show you. You can see there's a crack here in the wall. That actually corresponds to a large rock that's visible in this image here. So you can see that the part of the reason for that crack, and it's consistent, is because that's actually a large rock on the corner of that section of the wall. So in evaluating this, although they're requesting the ability to drill into this wall and sink the posts, I think doing that would basically completely ruin the wall, because I don't think they're going to have success in drilling through the wall. I think they believed it was a poured concrete wall or a block wall that had just been stuccoed over, but it is native stone, and I really don't think that that's going to be a suitable installation for the fence. And just around the corner, last year, we had approved a fence. This is just across the street. And this is a new fence installation. And here, we approved this where the fence was installed behind the wall in an effort to maintain, and in this case, this is actually not a stone wall, but even here in this neighborhood, where preservation of the low stone walls is part of the guidelines of the master plan, this was a sensitive fence installation. And so here, this is at that same property. You can see they just ran the fence immediately behind the wall, and part of it is native stone in this section, and then in this section, it's not. But in both cases, they just set their fence directly behind the wall. So the request is for the fence to be installed on the wall, embedded in the wall. I don't think that's going to be a practical option in this case.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
The property line goes to the street. The wall is on their property. Is that correct?
Well, not necessarily. They would have to have it surveyed to determine that. In some cases, and in fact, in this case right here, this was a new property owner who installed this fence here. The wall, actually, portions of it on the corner here were in the city right-of-way. So before they installed their fence, they had a survey done, and then they made sure they were inside of, their property line. But in some cases on this property, the wall was on their property, and some cases it wasn't. And particularly in a neighborhood like this in Pinecrest, where it is so tight, sometimes these walls are actually in city right-of-way. And they were installed without a survey.
Is the rear fence part of this project?
Technically, yes, because it went up at the same time, and it was part of what we issued a stop work order for.
It is a different design.
Yeah, it does appear to be different, yes. It's taller, and which is allowed under the zoning code. We limit front yard fences to 4 feet, and rear yard, once you're behind the setback, can go up to 6 feet.
So, let me clarify that too, that the fence at the rear, or in this photo at the rear, is a relatively new fence as well?
It is.
Why are they doing both, do we know?
Why are they doing both?
Two different styles.
The rear fence is 6 feet tall, and perhaps that's,
Probably
they
less
wanted-
expensive, I bet, too.
Yeah, and they probably wanted to go with something more decorative in the front, where it's going to be more readily seen from the street.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I would like to have the homeowner be part of this discussion, and I think we ought to table it.
Is that in the form of a motion?
Motion.
Okay.
And
Motion's been made.
I will second that one also. I want an explanation about the styles.
Is-
Well, and they may not be aware of the makeup of the wall retaining, also.
Yes, that could certainly be the case.
Is there other discussion or
We need to vote.
Yep.
any?
Once the motion is seconded, then we need a vote.
Mr. Merkel seconded.
I did.
Motion's been made and seconded to table this particular agenda item until next month. With
Or
the-
such time as the homeowner can be present.
And to request that the homeowners be here.
So you can do it either date certain or until the applicant can schedule a special meeting with this commission, so either way. Yeah. Yes, so let's go with next month's meeting.
Let's go with next month's meeting. The motion is, if that's acceptable to the motion maker in the
It is
second.
indeed.
Until next month's meeting. Those in favor say aye. Raise your
Aye.
hand. Aye. 5 votes for, obviously none opposed. The motion carries.
Okay.
That will be on the 8th of June.
June 8th?
Is it the second Friday?
Yes,
Yes.
it is. Okay. So hopefully we will have the applicant here a month from now, and we will move forward. They do have a temporary fence installation, so it is serving the purpose intended as it sits right now.
And we will get around to talking more about the fence itself instead of the logistics of where the fence is. I assume, at the next meeting. Our next agenda item, I believe, has been withdrawn for this month's meeting, which would be the 101 West Goodwin Street, the post office.
Yeah,
building.
yes, that is the case. I received an email yesterday morning from the architect that represents the post office project, who we've seen before us twice, both for the window work that has recently been completed and then the approval of the cornice for replacement. And he has been directed by the post office to delay this item. So
Okay,
hopefully we will be seeing this soon, since those of us who have seen the photos from the cornice item, the cornice is in pretty bad condition, so.
good.
Was this, this specific request was not, it was approved in the past,
The,
at a previous meeting?
just the cornice replacement was approved in the past. This request, what happened is they removed a section of the cornice, and I've got an image that depicts that, so. They removed, well, this is before they removed it. It's on the rear, as you walk out today, you'll be able to see. There's a small section right here in the middle of the rear of the post office. We had approved a fabricated foam, like with a very hard exterior, and they had to remove a section of the cornice in order to have that be used for the mold to be fabricated, so for the rest of the cornice. They removed that, and in doing so, they realized that the attachment of the cornice, the terracotta original cornice, was more complicated as far as being able to remove the cornice than they anticipated, and they were going to have to remove the entire parapet, masonry parapet, in order to get access to the cornice. So this item was the rebuilding of the masonry, the removal, salvaging, and rebuilding of the masonry parapet, as well as work on the west side stairway here. So that was what we were going to be reviewing today. And I don't believe that they can do the cornice work without dealing with the parapet. So I do anticipate we'll be seeing this item at some point soon.
Next on the agenda is any update or current events. I believe Ms. Moody might have a couple there.
I do have a report on the historic home tour, which took place last Saturday and was a great success. We had 7 houses and 5 public buildings on the tour, including Smoke Eye Museum, where we were based out of, the Armory, Washington School, First Congregational Church, and Prescott Center for the Arts Theater, which is the old Sacred Heart Church. So we got really great feedback. We had about 720 people buy tickets for the tour. And we will be meeting as a committee. It's a volunteer committee that plans this. We will be meeting next week. And then shortly thereafter, we'll be presenting donation checks to the 3 charities that are the benefit for the tour this year, which includes Smoke Eye Museum as our host, Big Brothers Big Sisters, and Discovery Gardens Preschool at Washington School. So I anticipate we'll have an article in the Courier when we're presenting those checks back to charity. So it's a nonprofit foundation or LLC that runs the historic home tour, and the entire proceeds beyond seed money for the next tour go back to local charities. So that is the report. And Robert did the tour, so what did you think?
Well, it's always interesting to see places that I've lived around for decades and haven't been in or to, and hear stories from the people who either live there or own the properties. That's as interesting of a history as the buildings, the people that know about them. But, so, yeah, I think it was a success. Is the intent to do this every 2 years, as I recall?
Yes,
So the-
yeah, we do it every 2 years. It's a lot of work.
It's a challenge. Thank you. Thank
Yeah.
you for being part of that, yeah.
Yeah, so we've decided we can't quite, because in order to make the tour happen, we start meeting 9 months before, on a monthly basis. And then as the tour approaches, we're meeting every couple of weeks.
Yeah.
And, so we've decided every 2 years is about what we can handle, so.
And there were historic vehicles and other,
We did have the Prescott Antique Auto Club, and one of those was Russ's Indian motorcycle, was parked out in front of one of the homes on Mount Vernon. So, yep, we had a vehicle at each location, or a motorcycle in that case, from the Prescott Antique Auto Club. So we got good feedback on those as well.
that's great, that's great. Are there other current events, any commission members or?
And then I just want to make a note that the agreements have been signed for Prescott to host the statewide Historic Preservation Conference next summer. So this summer, it's in Scottsdale at the Valley Ho, and next summer, in June of 2019, we will be the host for that statewide Historic Preservation Conference. It's hosted out of the Hacienda, and we use the Hacienda as the host hotel. We use their meeting rooms. And then this year, because the Elks has been completely remodeled in the front section, we'll be using the third floor meeting rooms up there, as well as the main auditorium for sessions. So that's a conference that brings in about 500 people from all over the state that represent, cities and towns, counties, a lot of tribal representation, because part of state historic preservation is archaeological, review and archaeology, the professionals who are involved with that. So it's a blend of both architectural historians and then archaeologists that end up attending this conference.
What are the specific dates? Do you have those established yet?
It's mid-June. They are established. I don't have the exact date, but I can certainly get that for you, and I can have that at next meeting.
Are we allowed to go?
You are actually encouraged to go. And being that it's in Prescott, we generally offer to pay for the registration for all of the commissioners. When it's held in someplace else, we often just send myself and then the chair, or one of the commissioners if the chair doesn't want to go. But when it's held in Prescott, last time we actually offered to every single commissioner to have their registration be covered. And it's very interesting. The presentations range from architects who have worked on projects to Main Street program issues, grant opportunities, funding sources, things like that. Bill Otwell will be presenting at this year's conference down in Scottsdale. He's going to be presenting on how to do architectural designs that can be reversed, and he's using what was the Milagro Arts Center as an example of a project where he designed an office infill in that building, and then later got to reverse those changes to take it back to its more original condition.
What are the dates of this year's?
It's mid-June. It's on my calendar, so just give me a second, and I will let you know. It is June 19th, I believe, June 19th through 21st.
Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, we'll look forward to those items. Anything else from anyone? Not hearing any, I will adjourn this May 11th meeting of the Preservation Commission.